Happy Pride. I'm so excited to present this series for the whole month of June, where we highlight 4 amazing people in the LGBT community. Each one might be someone you know, or you get to be introduced to them. The great thing is, whether you're in that community or whether you're an ally like I am, there's so much to learn. I have been truly challenged during this time of recording and getting to know these individuals. I have fumbled, I have made mistakes, I have learned, I've been challenged, and I'm leaving all that in because I want you to see how no matter how much we think we're an ally, it doesn't mean that we can't improve and can't be challenged and learn. And part of that is by being embarrassed at things we might say or mess up. I really hope that this encourages you, especially those who are younger or older, who are still trying to negotiate their own identities. I hope this gives you some peace. And I also hope, you laugh a bit. Hey, it's Karen from Deconversion Therapy, and today we have the lovely Flamy Grant with us. How are you?
Lovely. I am. I'm doing great. I'm a little, like I said before we started recording, I'm in the middle of a big drag mess in my drag room here. But
Yeah.
you know what? That's fine. That's just life right now.
I can only imagine because, like, my makeup desk is a disaster. So I can't, I'm assuming, add on top of that glitter and face paints and all that.
Wigs, costumes, and yeah, it's rough. It's especially rough right now because I just got back from Nashville where I recorded
I
a
saw.
music video. Yeah, so I literally had to just. My director was like, "Please bring every accessory you can because
Yeah.
it's a drag music video, so we're being as extra as possible." So I literally just threw like accessories and sparkles and rhinestones and whatever in bags, and then had to bring it all back, and now it's just all sitting at my feet in bags
Right.
still.
I'm excited. I'm excited now. I'm going to introduce who you are, and then I'm going to tell you I listened to your remix. That's just too loud. It's too
It's
loud.
too loud.
It's very, I don't think I can do it. No, it's great. And I think I want to talk about
Listen,
like the audience you're looking at and doodly do. But first of all, Flaming. We have lots of LGBT listeners. We also have lots of allies. We also have lots of new allies because,
mm,
when people deconstruct, they're like, oh, I also like gay people. And it's great. It's this like open, their eyes are open. So, first,
yeah.
let's talk about your pronouns.
My pronouns are they, them, or she, her. Generally, people reserve the she, her for when I'm in drag just because it makes a little more sense
Yeah,
to people, I think. But the only one I ask that I not be called is he, him. That's the only
gotcha.
one I'm opposed to.
Yep. Do you remember? So, Amy Grant, don't know if you've heard of her. Amy
Huh.
Grant's
Sounds familiar.
first husband came across my husband's like Facebook people you should know thing, because we live in the area. And he's
Yep.
wearing a shirt, and I'll out him, I don't care. He's wearing a shirt where it says his pronouns are I told you so, or no, told you so. And I'm like, one, we just can't educate you on what pronouns are, much less that doesn't work at all. I think he's a
God.
conspiracy theorist. So.
Wow, that's fascinating. I've heard a few stories over the years, and let's just say we are glad that Amy is living her best life with good old Vince.
Yes, I
And
know.
I just bought tickets to I wanted to be there for the Mother's Day show at the Ryman, but I couldn't make that work, even though I was in Nashville that week.
Right.
But I did buy tickets for the Christmas show at the Ryman with Vince, and I cannot wait. Front row,
Good.
baby. I'm gonna be
Really?
there. Oh yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's if I'm going to splurge on anything, it's going to be drag products or Amy
There you
Grant
go.
tickets.
Have you met her yet in any?
No,
Okay.
no,
We'll see what we
I've
can
not met her.
do.
I've been to a bunch of shows over the years, and I've not met her. Actually at the concert where I met you for the first time, Derek
Hmm.
Webb's concert in Nashville, someone was there who's a close friend of hers, who bought 2 of my vinyl that night
Right.
and had me sign, handed me one. He was like, "Would you please sign this?" And then he handed me the second one. Was like, "Would you please sign this one to Amy?" And I was like, "Which Amy? What are you talking about?" He's like, "You know which Amy." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So he
That's
later
great.
texted me a screenshot of her thanking him for the vinyl. So my vinyl's sitting in her house. So she knows I'm out
Excellent.
here.
I personally know someone who I talked to who also says she knows who you are. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
she's cool. All
she's
right.
very cool.
So, Flamy Grant, if people don't know, just pretty much destroyed the multiverse on what is happening in Christian music. And we can,
Does that
you
make me
know,
Thanos? The Thanos of Christian music?
see, that's the thing. I don't watch any of it. I have no idea. If we can compare it to The Office, I've got you. Um,
Okay, we
First
can
of
do
all,
that.
I sort of want to start at the beginning. So, what kind of church did you grow up in? Was it Pentecostal?
No. It was kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum. It was very rigorously fundamentalist and staid and conservative and like
Okay.
boring, like super boring. And during we were allowed a like piano accompaniment in the second service, which was the more like traditional like
The
family
wild
service.
one,
Oh
right?
yeah, ooh, crazy. But for every Sunday morning, like it's all about the Lord's Supper. It's called Plymouth Brethren is the whatever denomination. Um,
I have
yeah,
info about them. Yeah.
I bet you have some good info about them. It's just incredibly. It's almost to the point of like mandating, what like outfit. I almost said costumes because I'm a drag
Yeah.
queen. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Uniforms. Uniform. It's
That's it. That's
almost.
it.
It's almost to
Clothes. Right.
yeah, clothes. It's almost to that point. Like the women have to cover their hair, based on
Mm,
that whatever Second Corinthians passage, and can't speak. Women do not speak in the services at all. And then the men do, and they just kind of take turns, like calling out a hymn or saying a prayer or whatever, and that's church. And then we drink the blood and eat the body and
right. Right.
keep it moving. So it was very rigorously like fundamentalist,
Mm,
to the point where like that it was the values were based on how much do you align with our core beliefs and our core practices. So it was
yeah.
my sister's the first one who ever called it a cult, and when the first time she did, I was like, no, we weren't in a cult, like come on. And
Right.
then over the years, the more I've deconstructed, I've been like, oh, I got, there's a lot of overlap between cult behavior and what I grew up in, especially in terms of how you are um, uh, acknowledged as being one of in the fold. We
Hmm.
didn't have that's the thing though, we didn't have a membership, and that's why I was like, well, we couldn't have
Oh,
been a cult because there's no church membership, because we didn't believe in that. We didn't believe in
right. Right.
we just like the whole belief was like Christ is the head of the church and we're all believed in the priesthood of all believers, which is a wild thing to say that you believe and then tell women to shut up,
right.
just wild. Yeah, but there were consequences for breaking those rules, and you would get, not, we didn't call it excommunication, but like
Hmm.
one of the older girls in youth group when I was there got pregnant, and she got completely kicked out, and her
Right.
family even like suffered some weird consequences for a while. And so yeah,
Yeah. I know
icky.
that Plymouth Brethren from the whole 1830s, a guy from Plymouth Brethren is the one that brought rapture theology. Like no one before
Mm,
the 1830s believed that Jesus was coming to suck up people
right, I knew
until
that.
the 1830s. And it was John Nelson Darby out of a Plymouth Brethren.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I definitely am familiar with the name Darby. I didn't realize he was Plymouth Brethren. Ugh.
Yeah, that's your
Okay.
heritage. Was there
Wow.
a
So
lot of like, the world's going to end soon
oh,
or
yeah.
okay, so
Yeah, the whole
they stayed
yeah,
true. Okay.
rapture, trauma, all of that, it's part of it. Yeah, my mom always talked about it all the time. And she said, "Oh,
Yeah.
I believe Jesus is coming back in my lifetime," And I was like, "Yeah, your mom said that too."
I
And
know.
yeah, so
Yeah, I did
it's
too.
yeah, yeah. It was
It's
very, very rapture focused, very like, and just very end times focused in general. Like a
right.
lot of spotlighting that stuff. I think because
You guys
otherwise,
invented it. You really did.
I guess we
Yeah.
did. That's crazy.
Isn't that?
I don't think I fully realized that, but that's
Yeah.
wild.
Leave your mark. So, when did you realize that you were gay? Was it, you know, a light goes off, or was it just a casual, like,
I thought you were about to give me a list of like multiple choice. Was it third grade? Was it
was
seventh
it?
grade?
Right.
I knew I was something. I mean, as early as I would actually say third grade was kind of when I was like recognizing that like I didn't have language. I didn't know what gay
Yeah.
was. I was so isolated and so quote unquote protected from that kind of stuff that I just didn't even have language for it. But I knew I was different and I knew something was going on with me. As compared to most of the other boys in my class by third grade. And then for sure by like fourth and fifth, I had learned the words and knew that was afraid that they applied to me. I was scared that they applied to me.
That's what I wondered, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a lot of years of avoiding and hiding from and ignoring. And then when I realized that that is that I was gay, it was doing everything I could in pursuit of straightness.
Hmm.
I was deeply codependent all through high school and 20s, most of my early 20s, because I was just desperately like watching straight men and straight peers, and like just really latching on and being like, how do I be like you?
Right.
How can I convince everyone that I'm like you?
Yeah.
What do I do? What are the steps? What are and then ultimately ended in me self-enrolling in Exodus conversion therapy, which
Yeah, I know
was
a lot of y'all. Yep.
the big thing back in the day. Um, and I did that for 5 years. I was like
Crazy. Wow.
following that program. Yeah. From like, gosh, I was 20. I guess I was about 20 when I enrolled in that. And, so yeah, it was, desperate to, belonging, which wasn't really belonging. It was fitting in, but,
Hmm.
belonging was contingent on a lot of
Right.
things. And obviously one of them was being straight. So I didn't want to not belong to the only world I knew.
Yeah.
And so I went to extreme lengths to try and make myself fit in, and
Not to
none
make,
of them
yeah,
good.
not to make light of it, but I do picture you, a young trying to fit in, and like the guys all like seeing a girl walk by and like, "Ooh, I like her ass, I like her tits," and you go, "I like her dress." Like just her
her hair is
eyeshadow
her hair is
is
really on point today.
it's
Like
I'm
that
trying.
blowout, like that
That didn't
perm.
work. Yeah. So there must have been a point. Did you get to a point that you were like, I can't take it anymore? Or was there a person or a thing that gave you enough safety that you felt you could say something even to yourself or whatever?
Yeah, it was a combination of those things. I think I really did genuinely. I was all in, sincerely in on the
Mm-hmm.
pursuit of straightness, right? Like
Right.
and based on my beliefs, based on my spiritual conviction, like
Mm-hmm.
that was what was compelling all of that. And so I never felt any, as I went through all that process and started to realize and recognize that it wasn't working, and and then start to do my own investigation of the scripture and the clobber passages and all that. I never felt like I was breaking any like spiritual laws as I went along, because I was realizing as I went that these things weren't spiritual laws. Like I was realizing that I had been
Right.
lied to. Um, and so it was it's just a really slow
Mm-hmm.
deconstruction, really slow dismantling, but it was a genuine dismantling piece by piece where I was like, okay, no, that is actually not representative of the God that I, at the time believed in. And
Yeah.
and so, taking that apart bit by bit. But then there was also definitely, there were people in my life who did provide that comfort and that safety, and it was mostly other queer people. It was
Okay. All right.
because I didn't meet another queer person. Well, I did, but I didn't know
Yeah.
that I knew another queer person until um let's see, 2006 is when I moved to San Diego to start a church. And we had some folks show up at that church who were queer, because we were kind of advertising ourselves as, it was out of the emergent church movement and all
Oh
that. So we were
yeah.
trying to be one of those
We're
cool
down with
churches.
everyone.
Oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
good. We're great. Like,
Uh-huh.
come as you are. Fast forward 5 years, and I had to step down from leadership at the church I started because I came out
Yeah.
fully. But we had that nice veneer that made us look potentially queer affirming, I think, to some folks. Anyway, so that was where I met like made my first queer friends. And in particular, there's one person who's still my best friend to this day, Joshua, who is my age, and but just kind of had been on the journey of the journey of self acceptance a little earlier than I had been. So he was kind of that was the first person I ever felt comfortable, like, you know being gay with,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like, like fully, like, letting all of the mannerisms that I had adopted over the years, all the
Mm-hmm.
code switching things that I had done to fit in, like letting all that fly out the window and just let my voice do what it does naturally, and
Yeah.
just be myself. And so, yeah, it was being among my own my own kind
It's
that I think just,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That
gave me
you
that
and you're
space.
lucky, you found some gay people because again, we had people who follow us who just never got into an area where there are other gay people and it that they know of who have also come out. But isn't it weird? Like growing up, our biggest thing is, Paul says that he has a thorn in his side. Mine is, I got to get rid of this gayness. Mine, I know, goes back to me having ADHD, all these things that I was doing that were bad. And it's just like things that were part of us that we tortured ourselves for to get rid of. And it did not work. It did not work.
Yeah, and it happens on so many levels. I have a friend from a church in San Diego who has a stutter, and they
Hmm.
have created a whole. I think it's like maybe their business now, like a coaching business now, but certainly an online presence where they talk about how they had to deconstruct
Uh-huh.
all of the religious, like, shame
Yeah,
around
yeah.
their stutter, like even stuff like that, like they were being shamed for, saying like, this is a symptom of you, like, not believing in God enough, that
Oh,
you
yeah.
have this, like, all kinds of things we got shamed for
I can
growing up
go
in that way.
right down, like, still remember, oh, well, Moses, he had a speech impediment. And then they put the hot coal. I can imagine that kid having
Mm,
to go through all that shit with
hmm.
people going, like, yeah, wow, we just made such a nest of it. So you come out as gay and to your church. And this is, when did you think I also want to wear wigs? Like, was that part
That
of
was
you the whole time and you couldn't wait to do it?
No, that was so much later. I had those impulses early on in life, and I have the proof in all of our family photo albums
Right.
of me
Yeah.
of me
There's
in my
always.
hanging around in my mom's clothes, dragging her heels out of the closet, that kind of stuff. But um, it was just so deeply shamed out of me, like, and
Hmm.
and that it was so deeply embedded that it was like 30 years of just not even, like, remotely beginning to want to
Hmm.
engage with that part of who I am, despite things like in high school, I was, a theater kid, and my senior year, I was like all but guaranteed the lead in the musical, because it was a small Christian school and there were just a handful of us, and I had been working my way up each year, and there was really nobody else in the senior class who would take on a male role in a musical. So, and I desperately wanted us to do Hello Dolly because it was my favorite musical. And I was just begging our theater director, please, please, please. And she was like, what role are you, like, you really want to, like, the Walter Matthau role? Really? Like, is that appealing to you? And I literally had to like pause and be like, why am I chasing this musical so much? And I was like, I want to play Dolly.
Right.
And I can't, like, and it wasn't even remotely an option. Obviously that would never fly in my Christian high school. But like, that was a moment in high school where I was like, what? Like, I really want to play that role and I can't. And so I obviously dropped my campaign to do Hello Dolly because I was like, no, I don't want to play the Walter Matthau role. Gross. And I'm not going to play some second fiddle role. I'm not playing the Michael, what was the Barnaby and Cornelius Hackle.
Okay.
I was like, I'm not playing a secondary role. So we ended up doing My Fair Lady, and I played Henry Higgins. But
so it's only like hindsight, pretty much, that you see
a lot
these
of hindsight,
things.
a lot of hindsight. Yeah, and it really did start to come out for me in my 30s. Getting acquainted with local drag in San Diego and kind of falling in love with watching drag shows. And then of course, Drag Race, RuPaul's Drag Race was a big part of it for me. Binging all that, catching up on that in my mid 30s and late 30s, and just being like, oh, this is so fun. And, wouldn't it be fun? And what if, and that kind of stuff. But even then it was just like I was in my late 30s. I was like, there's no way, like, that's not going to, I can't make that kind of a pivot, which is so silly to think that that's late in life. It's not. If you're listening right now and you think that making a pivot in your 30s is late in life, girl,
50s, 70s,
make the pivot. Make the pivot. Yeah,
exactly.
Do it. But that's really where it kind of something took root. And then pandemic was where I ended up having the time to do it.
Right. So do you have like any Christian school friends who are now like, you come across their feed in some way and they die and are buried, like,
well, the thing is, I think because I've been on this little deconstruction journey for so long, like I came out fully in, what was that, 2018 or 2010. I think was when I like made my big, Facebook post announcement or whatever. So I had people back then who were obviously like old pastors and things like that who were chasing me down and trying to speak the truth to me. But I think by the time I started doing drag, most of the people from my actual life had given up on me. I still get plenty of people reaching out, they're all strangers. But the people who knew me growing up have either accepted the fact that I'm a lost cause or, are also on this journey. So I do have a couple people from my teeny tiny, I think we had 24 in my graduating class in high school. So there's a few who I kind of stay in touch with and are super supportive of what's going on. But I looked up my high school bully. He was actually more my middle school bully the other day. Not the other day. It was a couple months ago, just to see. I was like, he came to mind and I was like, I wonder whatever happened to him. And sure enough, he's like married with 2 kids and it's all these like hunting and American flag pictures on his Facebook page. And, there was definitely some anti-LGBT like stuff he had shared on there. And I was like, yeah, checks out.
It's amazing though that, people can be miserable. I confronted my elementary bully. And I was like, we're past everything, but I'm just wondering, what was it? Like what? And she was just like, I can't even deal with this right now. Do you know how hurtful my life's been? But she was like talking about her hurt, of course. But then somehow I upset her by asking. But anyway, they're usually miserable. So when was your first performance in drag? And what were you named? Did you go right to like, no one really thinks I want to do drag and sort of Christian church music.
Oh gosh, no. That was pure accident. So I did have, I did have the name Flamy Grant pretty early on. And that just came from sitting in our bedroom one night watching Drag Race and asking my husband, I was like, do you have a drag name? And I was like, I don't have one. And so we just started, spitballing, and I was like, I love the names that are based on some, their favorite diva, like
Right.
Shaka Convict and Tina Burner and
Yeah.
Delta Work. I love those names. And so I was like, but mine would have to be Amy Grant. She was the only diva I had growing up, because that's all I was allowed to listen to.
Yeah.
And so I had that name kind of on lock for a minute. In fact, the night I came up with it with my husband, I went and reserved the Instagram handle just purely on intuition, I think,
Right.
and didn't do anything with it for months. Because this was the year, it was 2019, the year prior to pandemic, and but I had it, and I did go out in drag. I think October, Halloween of 2019 was the first time I did full body, face, everything, and I think I called myself Mahulda Dratch. It was a witch. She was a witch character. So,
Right.
and I for whatever reason, I was like Rachel Dratch. I love the name
Yeah, I
Dratch,
love
and I
her.
love Rachel Dratch. And then Mahulda. I think I literally was Googling what are some old woman names. What are
Right.
some crone names? So that was, I guess, maybe my first drag name, but it was just for Halloween. So yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder if the safety of Halloween,
Oh.
I can do it now because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's doing it.
Yeah, there is so much safety in that, and I think that's why it's kind of a joke in the drag community that every Halloween 20 bazillion more new drag queens are born. But it's for sure, it's because it's, especially in a queer neighborhood, queer community like I was in Hillcrest, San Diego, so easy to go out in drag, especially that night. But I tell you what, it flipped a switch for sure. I was like, ooh, this is fun.
This.
I love
Euphoria.
this. Yes, Euphoria.
Well, you've got so much that's happened in the last 2, 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So your most important night was when you met me.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's bring it all back. No, let's talk about the concert, because people who know me know I don't go anywhere. And I'm usually disappointed if I do go somewhere. But you had come across, I don't know if it was TikTok or someone told me, or your Instagram. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to follow. That's hilarious. Love the name. And then you put up, going to be in Nashville. And unfortunately, I told my husband, who's like, we're going, he was probably like, you need to get out of the house. And, I didn't know Derek Webb. I didn't know Jennifer Knapp. I did none of it. And we were all blown away by all of it. So how did you start with the Christian music and then leading to maybe that concert connecting with Derek Webb from Caedmon's Call, which was a big Christian group?
Yeah. So stumbling into the kind of the blend, the mix of Christian music, and actually this answers your question that I didn't really answer before, which is when was the first performance. So
right.
I did what I guess technically first performances would have been live streaming from my basement in San Diego with my housemates. That we did what my housemates were musicians as well, and we did what everybody did during that time, which was to pivot to live streaming and doing concerts online. We did that every Thursday night. We called it Heathen Happy Hour. That was the name of our podcast, Heathen. So it just kind of flowed. And so every Thursday night we were live streaming and just doing cover songs, just a fun night of make a cocktail, join us, and let's sing some cover songs and be goofy. But I started showing up to those in drag. So those were really kind of the first, that's where I cut my teeth. And unfortunately, it's all still on the internet. So all that early drag is out there to see. It's dreadful, absolutely
Googling
dreadful.
now.
Yeah. Heathen Happy Hour. And then my first live performance would have been, I don't even know the date, whenever bars started opening back up in San Diego. I had, made friends with some drag performers there and got invited to do a cabaret brunch. So I went and I sang Mama, You Be Good to Mama from Chicago. What is it? What is that song?
Yeah. I just can
When you're
see
good
the
to
mama.
mama. Yeah,
Right.
I did that, and I did a number from Aida as well, and again, just a moment of euphoria and just being totally hooked and being like, oh, performing in drag is the only way to perform. So, so yeah. Anyway, all that. The shift for me happened, I think, and you probably did encounter me on TikTok because during pandemic, TikTok was where I was just having
Right.
some good viral success, and like some of my videos were really going viral. I do not have that anymore. I can
Same,
never get.
same.
I
They've.
I don't I don't know what happened to TikTok,
I
but
think they're like the newer creators. They lean into more because I'm like, who are
yeah,
you saying what Flamey did 5 years ago with 5 million?
I know,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, but at the time, I was like, TikTok was really like the place to be,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had my first viral video was one where I was actually prepping. It was a practice for giving a sermon because I had been invited to give the sermon in drag at the church I was part of. This,
Mm-hmm.
a different church, newer church in San Diego. Um, and I was like, I don't know what that looks like. I have no context for that. I've never seen that done. Now that I know there are plenty of drag performers who do spiritual work, and that there's plenty of context for that, but I just hadn't seen it yet. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
let me make this TikTok video. This was back when it was still 60 seconds was all you could do. So the quick cuts where you paint part of your face and then you like say another
Right.
little bit, that kind of thing. So I was just giving a little 60-second sermon while getting into drag, and I was like, okay, I think I can do that. That'll work. And posted it, and woke up the next morning, and it had just 500,000 views like overnight. And um, so the comment section was what like woke me up a little bit. Was seeing people talk about, like, everybody was just like, this makes me feel so seen and safe.
There you go. Yeah.
And I'm an Enneagram 8, so if you tell me that something I've done has like given somebody safety, given
Mm-hmm.
somebody space to be, like that is, I was like, that feels like, in my younger days I would have called that a calling.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I
divine
say that.
calling.
I mean, ex-missionary. I'm like, this is my mission.
Yep,
We use the
mission, yeah,
language. It, yeah,
ministry, all of it,
works.
yeah. Yeah, so that's what I just was like, I think there's something here. And I started dreaming about writing. I had been a songwriter since I was 9 years old. I wrote my
Mm-hmm.
first song, so I'd been doing that my whole life, mostly within the context of the church. I'd been in a few bands and that kind of thing, but mostly I was writing songs for our churches that I had been in. And I was like, what if I wrote songs in Flamey's voice? What would that feel like? And performed those. And I had already been doing all the covers stuff, so I was comfortable and familiar with being a musician in drag. And then I just was like, I don't know, it was like a duh moment. Like I was
Yeah.
why didn't I think of this initially? But this is who I am. I'm a songwriter, I am a performer, and now I love drag, and like I can just put all of that together, and it can be one thing. And that's the beauty of drag. Drag is theater, so you
Yeah.
can do anything. You can do anything on a stage, and drag's the same way. You can bring anything to it, whoever you are. Bring it to your drag art. And so that was that's kind of the long version of how we got
Yeah, no, that's
doing
and your
the music.
lyrics are so damn good. They really
Well,
are.
thank you, thank
And
you.
I like that writing is what I do, and like just the layers and how you work on those words. I love it. I love it.
That's so fun. I love songwriting. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
And I really wrestled with the decision to release it as a Christian record. I didn't know if that was never a given.
Mm-hmm.
I really, what it was talking to Semler. We became buddies, Semler and I, on TikTok during pandemic as well.
Right.
And so I got to see what they did. With they were the first out queer person to ever have that #1 spot on the Christian iTunes charts. So I had seen it was possible. They kind of paved that, they trailblazed that and paved that path. And I was like, I don't know. When I finished recording the album Bible Belt Baby, the first record, I kind of pulled back and I looked at it and I was like, this feels exactly like what I grew up listening to, that I
Yeah.
would find at our local Christian bookstore at the
Yeah.
carpenter shop. Like, maybe not exactly, because I use some choice words here and there, that kind of thing, but like it's telling a spiritual story.
Mm-hmm.
It's based from the spiritual like perspective and point of view, and not just spiritual, but honestly religious, like, if we're being honest. And it's about my journey
It's
through all of that.
redemptive.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, it just makes sense at the end of the day. Like, let's go for it. Let's put it in the Christian category, and let's be a drag queen doing Christian music. And but it did okay when it came out for an indie record, but it made no huge splash. And it really wasn't until 10 months later, and the infamous concert that you referenced, that things really started to happen.
Yeah. I just remember I went in and, it's a small room. I have no understanding of numbers. There could have been 20, there could have been 400. It was somewhere between that amount of people.
It was definitely
We
between that
can,
amount of people. Yeah,
and
I would say maybe 100 were there that night.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was intimate, and intimacy and concerts scare the shit out of me. I don't
yeah,
like
sure.
going out to eat and there's music because I'm like, this person sucks. I hate that. None of this sucked. It was very transcendent. You blew me away. Derek Webb, all of it. And then Jennifer Nutt. I was like, I don't
And
know if this is Christian because I've been out of the church for 25 years,
yeah,
but this is safe. Once again, this is like a
yeah,
safe place.
yeah, yeah. And Tiffany from Plum was there as well.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
Tiffany was really just kind of coming out as an ally in that moment. So that was kind of a big deal for her to be seen in that photograph that made the rounds as well. But yeah, it was such a great night. Derek is just one of my favorite people, kind of my standard for allyship now. I love him so
Yeah,
much.
it's
Um,
sweet.
yeah, and Jen, of course, just a legendary journey, being probably the most prominent Christian artist to ever come out, and man has been through been through it, and did it
Right.
10 years ago.
Yeah, I
Or
can't wait to
yeah,
hear more about that.
yeah.
So concert happened, a photograph was taken, someone posted it, and the next thing, now this guy was my nemesis since we started this 5 years ago, this podcast.
Hmm.
That noodlehead Seattle Hawks. And we're talking about Sean Foyt. And yes, we wish it was pronounced Sean Fucked. It isn't. But um, he saw it. And he, of course, out of Christian love, said great things. I can't remember what he said, like, oh,
Oh, I
how you
remember.
guys have fallen, or what
It
was
was
it?
it was a reference to the end times. It was
Oh,
these
yeah.
are truly the last days, because we've got what he presumed was a Christian musician. Derek, he associated Derek with Christian music, even though
Right.
Derek hasn't done Christian music for a decade or more. Um, uh, so he thought that Derek was a Christian musician collaborating with a drag queen, which really it was a Christian musician drag queen collaborating with Derek.
Right. Right.
Like it was like let's call things what they are. But yeah, it sent him into a tizzy apparently, and he said, "These are truly the last days. What a shame, what a pity," kind of thing. And I didn't know who he was at that time. I knew
I
who
did.
he was,
Yeah.
in that I knew that there had been a person in pandemic who was holding those big worship
Right.
services
Yeah.
unmasked at the height of pandemic, kind of thing. So I knew that that person had happened. I didn't know it was him, and I didn't know, other than that, I knew nothing about him, and that he had this like massive following. So it
What I
was
like to
Derek.
say, yeah,
Yeah.
is that if you don't know who Sean Foyt is, he's someone that was told by God to run for Congress, and he came in third with the lowest.
God's plan.
So that's how I like to
God's plan.
introduce him. And then he was
Yeah.
like, "Oh crap, what do I do now? Let me make some waves."
Yeah.
So okay, so Derek posted the pic.
Well, no, I don't think so.
Oh,
Well, I
okay,
mean, one of us must have posted it
all right.
initially because it was on our phones, but it was Derek who kind of nudged me and said, "Hey, like Sean Foyt's got 100 million followers on Twitter. You should, I don't see what you can make of this." And so I, without even thinking, I just responded and was like, he said this is the end goal of deconstruction, is how he kicked it off. The end goal of deconstruction, a Christian musician collaborating with a drag queen.
Right.
And so my response was, end goal, babe, no, we're just getting started, with a little
Yeah,
kissy
yeah.
face or whatever, because that's my default reaction to trolls, is just to like be cute about it and be like,
Call
oh,
any
you're
man
you're
honey.
adorable.
Oh,
Oh
I
yeah,
know
absolutely,
exactly. They
absolutely.
hate it.
And he came back and said, well, at least no one listens to you or cares what you do.
Mm.
And that was the moment where I was like, well, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I may not have, my album did okay on the indie charts. It's,
Right.
like, but what I did have at that time, which he didn't know, I think, because he was looking at, this was all on Twitter, and
Mm-hmm.
I had no followers on Twitter. I didn't use that app very much. And so he was probably looked at my follower account, and that's why he said like, well, no one listens to you. You're no threat to me or whatever. But he didn't know that I had all that success on TikTok. So I went to TikTok and I was like, did the whole screenshot thing. I was like, here's what's happening. What do y'all think? I've got an album that's already out. It's been out for 10 months. I have a song that's a worship song, Good Day, that I wrote for my last church. If we could get Good Day to chart on the Christian music charts, like that would be something that, would obviously get Sean's attention, and I could be like, yeah, I think there's some people who do care and do listen. But I still knew like that was a gamble, a risk, and I didn't have nearly the following that Semler had. So even though I had seen Semler do it, I was like, there's no guarantee this is, there's whatever. But I don't know. Thankfully, that day the algorithm worked in my favor. People saw the video and shared the video, and then from there it did kind of snowball into a whole thing where the record was #1 on iTunes for 9 days straight, which was
great.
A dream. I loved opening up the iTunes app, which no one does anymore, but whatever. It's still there. It still exists. It's still a chart. So if you can hack it, you can hack it, baby. But opening up iTunes and Christian music and literally seeing my little pink wigged face as the face of Christian music for 9 days. I was like, that's a childhood dream of mine. Like that is exactly what I wanted to be. Not exactly what I wanted to be, but I wanted to be Michael W. Smith. I wanted to be Stephen Curtis Chapman as a kid. And so like to have that full circle moment, even though I didn't think I cared about it anymore at that point, because that was a childhood dream. It was a thing I never even thought about having happen again. I hadn't thought about that in a decade or more. But to see it happen was really kind of a cool thing, like a gift to give my younger self and be like, hey, that dream you had, it may not look exactly the way you were thinking, but it happened.
You will have on a wig, but it will be, you would have never believed it. So that sparked me. I love promoting good people and musicians and all that. And so when I saw that, I'm like, a mission. I love a damn mission. A mission against Sean Foyt. I loved the mission. And so like I was posting like, keep it going. Come on here. You just click here. And people were telling me, okay, I've had it streaming all day. I have it on repeat. And it's a damn good song, too. Do I have your permission to play a little bit of it at the end or something?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
I will make royalties. But the whole thing about it was motivating people who had been hurt by the church, whether it was because they were gay, whether they, had just had church hurt or didn't believe in it, all of that. Like those people are already on the motivation train. They're saying, what can I do?
Yeah.
And I think that, was the perfect time, perfect everything. And I was excited. I'm like, I'm not him, but I'm like, ooh, we are #1, and I'd tell my husband was playing it and all that. And it was really fantastic.
It was a fun moment. It was really fun.
It's so fun. And then nothing bad happened afterwards, right?
I mean, the world is definitely not a better place for it. like, I'm sure that some evangelicals would connect the dots to, see, there was a drag queen and now like the world is in shambles. But no, nothing bad happened to me or to anybody I'm associated with for that happening. It was a good thing for our people, for queer folks especially.
You got in Rolling Stone, you were on shows, you were all this, which is fantastic. And then, now, did they say you can't be on the Christian music charts anymore?
Well, or what? The good thing about that is that they actually can't control that anymore because the music world, the music industry has evolved to the place where it is, where like anybody can upload music into any genre as an independent artist now.
Gotcha.
So there are still like all kinds of gatekeeping things that are in place to keep people off radio and stuff like that, especially Christian radio, and for sure to keep them out of like Christian awards things like the Doves.
Right.
But they can't stop me from releasing Christian music. Yeah. So it's entirely on me to like build an audience for that, but because there's no label that's going to help promote me in Christian music or anything like that. but no, I can still release Christian music, and so we'll see if it's repeatable at all. I've got the first single from the new record's coming out June 1st for Pride Month. So we're going to be pushing it as hard as we can, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I can still release Christian music. I just can't be considered eligible in any official capacity by the Christian music industry.
And we can go like over and over and just be like, okay, let's look at all these people on the chart. Let's look at their lives and see, are you really living the Beatitudes? Like, we can just judge all day.
I mean, Kanye won a Dove Award or a Christian Grammy. So it's like, it's really interesting. But Kanye's record that won did not have any curse words on it, any swears on it, which mine did, and that's why they were, at least that was the reason they gave for why they disqualified me from the Grammys, the Christian Grammy category.
But you did go to the Dove Awards. Anyway.
I did as an attendee. I bought a ticket. Sumler bought a ticket. Derek Webb bought a ticket, and then like 30 other people bought tickets with us in the same section, and we all just went, and we're like, we're just going to go attend. That's all. We're going to be queer up in the corner of the room and see, just experience it. I looked at it as this like expedition, like let's go into this territory where we've always been ostracized or banned or kept out. Right. Or forced, if we're to be in it, forced to be in the closet, which. That's the thing I've learned since all of this, is how many closeted queer people are in Christian music, and closeted allies are in Christian music. There's so many. Yeah. That night alone at the Doves, I had 12 or 13 people come up to me and just like grab my shoulder and be like, "We're so glad you're here. Thank you for doing what you're doing." Kind of like, but whispering. Yeah. And I was like, well, this sucks. Like, y'all are all out here, maybe the Christian music industry isn't run entirely by crazy people, but you all bend over for the crazy people who are running CCM.
It's so hard because it's your livelihood, and then you think of your children, and and I say, like, I'm not the best at anything I do here, but there's so many people who can't do anything because the South, and they'll be ostracized, they'll lose their jobs suddenly, and I am seeing, especially with books recently, that there are things opening up for this sort of deconstruction, whatever that is, if people are still Christian, if they're not, but this whole area. And I'm hoping the same will work in the music industry, because there's so many that people are like, have you heard this? Have you heard this? And I think that's fantastic. We need more of those. I was saying earlier that you did re-release, which one, in EDM version? What?
Yeah, that was the first single from the first record, What Did You Drag Me Into?
That. Great.
And that was honestly just a kind of a fun, fluky thing that happened. A guy, a DJ, his name's John, DJ FM, approached me after a show in Charlotte, North Carolina, and said, "Hey, your song would make a great dance track." And I was like, I don't know what that is. I'm sorry, sir. What is this? What are you talking about?
You mean tap? Is this? Yeah. Okay. Right.
Oh yeah. Like a little polka number. Sure. No, it's not my genre at all. I don't listen to EDM. I definitely, it's been a minute since I've gone out to the clubs myself. Right. But I was like, have at it. I checked him out and listened to his stuff, and he was really good. And I was like, have at it. If you want to give it a go, like, let's see. And I mean, I think it's a banger what he did.
Think it's great.
What he turned out. Again, maybe not my particular cup of tea. Like, I'm not going to put on that station, but it's cool to, be a drag queen who has a dance track, because that's obviously a big part of queer culture. And so hopefully we can get that on some Pride playlists this summer, and have people getting down to some religious trauma lyrics at the club.
I think my stomach is going crazy. Like I said, it's just too damn loud. But I think, it does. It opens it up for other places, for it to be played other places, other, people, under different influences. People love it. I think it's fantastic. So I want to know what you have planned for Pride, and then some of your music. I'm going to put all your links in the show details that are clickable for people to just go directly. So
Awesome.
what's your plan for Pride? We're releasing this in Pride Month, so happy Pride, everybody.
Yay. Yeah, happy Pride, happy Pride. So then if you're listening to this episode, then hopefully my single Sparkle will already be out in the world, and so go listen to Sparkle. It's a it's definitely like the draggiest track on the new record. And it's got a it's kind of in like a Bruno Mars like
Oh,
funk
cool.
space.
Right.
Yeah,
I love that.
Bee Gees. Like it's just very, it's a fun kind of slow groove dance track. So and it's actually interesting. It's partially inspired by interactions with people like Sean, and there may be a line in there that is kind of, if you're savvy, you'll know that it's some direct shade.
Mm.
But but yeah, it's just an empowerment song. It's Sparkle stands for Stay Proud, Radiate, Keep Laughing.
Oh,
And
that's
that
great.
Yeah, the question I get all the time is, gosh, how do you deal with the trolls? How do you deal with the Seans? And how do you deal with it all? And I was like, well, let's write a song that talks about how I deal with it, because
Right.
I want everybody to feel the way I feel when this stuff comes across your
Mm-hmm.
feed. Like put it in perspective, put it in the grand scheme of things, because these people are loud and do have an impact on our lives right now, but they're not going to be, it won't be that way forever, babe.
Yeah.
And that's because of who we are and the power we have. And so don't forget that. Don't forget that the power you have, and then own it and use it. And let's keep changing the world. So that's what that song's about. It's fun. And then I'll have two more singles that will come out before the full album drops. Hopefully in September. The goal right now is September 1st.
Okay.
And yeah, it's I'm so proud of the record. It's We recorded it in Nashville with like real session musicians. The
Mm-hmm.
first time I've ever had the opportunity to do that, thanks to the incredibly generous people who funded the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter went bonkers, over the top. So
Right.
that was super huge and wonderful to watch. And then so yeah, it afforded the opportunity to really get into a studio in Nashville with some just awesome players, and they turned my songs into like it's a dream album for me. I'm just so proud of it. I love it so much. So um I don't know when I'm going to be like talking about the album title yet, which is why I'm not saying it, because I want to do a big reveal around the whole album title. But
So should I delete that you
no.
said what it stood
Oh no,
for? Okay.
Sparkle's good. Like Sparkle, that's already out there.
Gotcha,
Like,
gotcha, gotcha.
but the actual album
Okay.
name I haven't announced yet, so I might hold off on saying that
Please
for now
say
for
it's
this conversation.
Sean Fuck. Okay. We won't. And let the
Here's what I will
lyrics.
say. Here's what
Yeah.
I will say, Karen, and you'll appreciate this. When the music video drops for Sparkle,
Mm-hmm.
don't miss it, because you you
I'm
you
I'm
will
already.
you will have some instant gratification.
Please have a verse that just says you part your hair too far to the side. That's it. That's all I want.
I might
And
provide
I'm
you.
being so petty with looks, but like it's the soul, his soul
Yes,
that
it's the
really
soul.
is. Well, we'll put all the links and you can send anything else that you want people to click on. And obviously, they need to stream your music, follow you, do all these
Hmm.
things because this is our mission, this is our task. And I say
Yeah.
this all the time, like we need to back people who are saying something different, are
Hmm.
saying, I'm done with how the church treated us or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, Even if your music isn't for them,
Hmm.
doesn't matter. You just
Yeah.
still follow. You can still do the things
Yeah.
um,
And
because it's for
been
tons of people. Hmm.
people have been so amazing about that. I remember when things were happening last summer, so many folks were in my comments saying like, I certainly don't like Christian music. I don't like country music, which some of my music I think is definitely like falls in that kind of in between space. And they're like, but I'm like, this song I'm here for, like, and I'm here for it as a mission kind of thing. And people were coming in being like, I'm atheist and I bought this on iTunes. So
Oh, yeah, me
like,
too.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
atheist, and and it does bring back that good part of the worship chorus that you sang, the Good Day one.
Hmm.
Um, and I loved, the one about Rahab, and
Esther, Ruth, and Rahab.
there you go. And
Yeah.
just, the things that we deconstruct and go, yeah, what was up with that? Are you going to show up to any pride parades or?
Yeah, I've got several. Well, so my whole June schedule's already announced.
Mhm.
I'll be mostly in the Midwest and in New England for June. But yeah, Detroit, Motor City Pride. I'll be at Detroit Pride. I'll be at Ottawa Family Pride in Ottawa, Illinois.
Oh, cool.
I'm opening for Mrs. Kasha Davis and Nina West there, who are Drag Race legends.
Awesome.
Which is like, that's a huge thing for me. I'm so excited about that. And then I just have my own tour that I'm doing as well that month. So those dates are all on my social media, my website,
Okay.
everywhere. So
And I'll make that
easy
just
to
a
find.
quick click for everybody.
Yeah.
Again, those are with people and outside, but I'm probably going to go to ours in Franklin just because people wanted to cancel it and da da da
Yeah.
da. And
Franklin there was a big battle around that one. I remember.
it's all crazy. And then just this last weekend, my daughter went to a birthday party on the big drag bus. Is it called the big drag bus? Do you know about
I
it?
don't know what this is. No.
Come, come, come. So it's been going for years, and it's two drag queens, and they have a bus that goes around Nashville, and they do a whole performance. They do
Ah,
dancing. My daughter's
is
like, they did cartwheels. They did cartwheels, down
on
the
the bus.
bus.
That's amazing.
It's known, everyone loves it. And I haven't done it yet.
Is this Chris Houseman, who's a gay country musician in Nashville, did a song called "You Can't Keep a Drag Queen Down," and I think part of it was on a bus, and I'm wondering if maybe that
It
was.
could
Oh
be.
no, wait! I'm sorry. It's actually Mike Mashiro did a whole. Do you know Mike?
No, no.
Oh,
I don't know anyone who was ever Christian in the last 25 years. I missed all them.
he's on this side of it now, but
Right.
he's kind of he does a lot of the same stuff you do that kind of work. But anyway, anyway, so I think I've seen this bus is all I'm saying. I just didn't know what it was. That's awesome.
On up and
Thank you.
letting people know. And what do you have to say if someone is closeted? We don't force anyone to come out, obviously. This is Pride Month. A lot of people are thinking and maybe even burdened by it. What advice or
Yeah,
thoughts
well,
do
I
you
would say
have?
that the coming out process is not a one-time thing ever. It's and it is unique to every individual. Mine took place over the course of a decade and is still
Yeah,
unfolding. That's the thing about it. We're constantly, if we're doing our work, we're forever growing into who we
yeah,
are. We're forever uncovering,
right.
pulling back that next layer, and especially layers that have been foisted upon us, and layers of shame and things like that. And we're pulling that out and finding new parts of who we are. So I would say that process is, just don't put a timeline on it. It's yours. It's your process. And
Right.
for sure, what I would say is, before, especially if you're very young, if you still live with your parents, that kind of thing, like, make sure that you do have a safe space somewhere, whether that is a teacher, an auntie and
There you go.
uncle.
Right.
So if you're not feeling great about how you think your parents or the people you live with, your guardians, whoever's raising you, might react to you coming out, make sure that you do have someone else that I would, again, it's your journey, but I would consider coming out to a safe person first, and then
Hmm.
having that person know what you're doing. Make sure that person is kind of part of your
It's a good
team. Like,
idea.
have a team is what I'm saying before you go to the really
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
place to come out. You don't want to. I think it can be really challenging to come out to your parents first and then have them react badly, and then this is, we have higher rates of homelessness among queer youth, LGBTQ
Hmm.
youth, and higher rates of other things, and we want to keep you safe and have you know that you are loved, you are worthy, you're protected. So there are places you can, and if you don't have that person in your life, find your local queer your community center there, somewhere near you. There's a group of people who are doing the work. Find them, and they will be there for you, babe. That's what our family does.
Absolutely. And if anyone needs resources for that, get in touch. And we have different resources. And, my first thing, exactly yours. One, are you
Hmm.
physically safe? Once we get past that, goes one direction, and the other can go to others. And you can first find the support online, and the online will then, through certain organizations, help you find it in your area. But I love, yeah, it's
Hmm.
your timeline. And, you know, that's if you don't feel safe during high school. I love what you said about the 30s, because I tell all the people who are suffering and crying in life, I'm like, how old are you? They're in their 20s. I'm like, wait
Yes.
till your 30s. I promise. Like, your 20s are just
Hmm.
turmoil.
Hmm.
But we promise there's light there. Well, thank you
Thank
again.
you.
And I hope to come to one of your
Heck yeah.
concerts
I
again.
can't wait to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.